Focusing their efforts is in Michigan, where Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard is challenging Democratic incumbent Debbie Stabenow. President Bush has made 2 fundraising trips to the state on Bouchard's half, but with Senator Stabenow 12 points ahead, that's the incumbent of him, in the latest poll, can Bouchard overcome his opponent's double-digit lead? Michael Bouchard, welcome, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Michael, how do you beat somebody who's 12 points ahead of you right now?
Well, it depends on the poll, obviously, which one you look at, but I don't take that as anything reality. In fact, if you look at Michigan, we always close quick, close late. Governor Engler was down about 12 points the night before. Debbie Stabenow was down about 17 points about 3 weeks out. This will be a close race. I think we've got the ground troops and the message. And Michigan, very much different from the rest of the country, needs change. And her whole campaign is to blame the president. If 49 states are doing well, the economy's running along, the Dow's at a record high, her whole thing is to blame the president, and the only thing she's accomplished is to rename a federal building. That's why people are flooding to my site, MikeForMichigan.com, to help us out to make change happen here.
Let's talk about the big issue of the auto industry in your state, which is obviously hurting your economy,
Sure.
hurting the job situation there. You know, I heard the other day that Taurus is being dropped by Ford. I hope I'm wrong on that one. There's some of the big economy luxury models are getting dropped. Limousine drivers can't even find cars. They're looking down the road. The American auto industry is getting hurt badly by Toyota and the other cars. The hybrids are coming in. Is that the fault of the governor or the senator of Michigan?
Well, certainly they each have their own role to play, but our United States Senator has an 18% lifetime voting record on manufacturing issues. How can you possibly be from Michigan and be voting against manufacturers 8 out of 10 times? So I think she needs to be held accountable for that, and unfortunately she has not got the job done.
What are these points that, give me the examples of what she voted against, she should have voted for?
Well, a number of the issues that play into manufacturing are health care. She's filibustered some of the tort reform and some of the health care provisions. She's filibustered.
So she wants to protect the right of workers to sue, right?
Not workers. Like, for example, California. The extremists in California right now are suing America's manufacturers, the automobile companies. Even though they're in compliance with federal standards, they're in compliance with California standards, they're suing them for billions, and she won't stand up against them because she's getting millions from trial lawyers.
And you don't think that that these cases are legitimate, these suits?
If you're in compliance with federal and state regulations, how can you possibly be sued for those issues? I think they're absolutely out of bounds. In fact, Michigan and America's manufacturers pay 2.5 times more in litigation costs than our international competitors,
right.
And that plays into the cost of every car, and she's not standing up to help us bring the price points down on the car to make us internationally competitive.
Well, who's helping you in your campaign? Are you being helped by auto dealers, auto manufacturers, the other side of the argument?
Well, I'm certainly an automotive guy. My dad,
the National Association of Manufacturers, are you getting coin from them?
Yeah, a lot of the auto dealers in the area are very much active in my race. The National Federation of Independent Business, all of the chambers, the National Chamber, the Michigan Chamber, all the people that need business, that want to bring jobs back to Michigan are helping me because she has such an abysmal record on jobs, and her only complaint is it's somebody else, it's not my job.
What's not her job? I'm sorry. What do you mean by that?
To fix these problems. She wants to blame everybody else, even though the only bill she's passed since she's been in the United States Senate was to rename a federal building. We're hemorrhaging jobs. Our borders aren't secure. We're spending money like drunken sailors, and she's renaming federal buildings.
Okay, I want to give you 30 seconds. How can the American auto industry, which is so much a part of Motown, Detroit, the whole state, it's where autos come from, how can you get back in the market and beat Toyota if you get in office as senator?
Well, liability is one of the issues. Health care reform is another. Affordable, available, and accessible energy is critical, not only at the pumps, but at the back of the plants as it relates to the price of each automobile. And that's the reason
people are out there buying Toyotas and buying foreign cars and German cars. What about design, engineering, fuel efficiency, the big issues people look for when they go to buy a car? How are you going to help them? Because you're talking about an economy out there that's in big trouble. Is it in big trouble because you got a Democratic senator or because the auto industry can't keep up with world competition?
Well, world competition brings in those bottom line indicators that I'm talking about. You can't compete internationally if your cost points are much higher than your international competitors on every one of those things. Look, we'll never compete on labor. wages as it relates to America, nor do we want to. We want to have a higher standard of living. So if you take that off the table, you have to focus on what you can fix. That's energy costs, that's litigation costs, that's health care costs.
How do you deal with health care costs when the American auto manufacturer has to pay for the health care of every one of the employees? It's a huge amount of dollar. Every time you buy a car, you're buying a lot of health insurance. Do we need a federal health insurance program to give relief to the auto industry?
Well, I don't want to nationalize health care. No, I've never seen something go from the
How do you reduce the health costs? How do you reduce the health costs of American car makers, which is one of the, I think in many cases I've heard this argument, the chief problem we have in beating the Japanese, the Germans, is the first thing you got to lay out if you're manufacturing American cars is a huge payout in health costs for your workers, because they've got good unions, good contracts, and they have a right to this kind of stuff under collective bargaining, and it costs you a fortune. How do you fix that problem without meeting the health needs of the people, the workers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Legacy
would you do
costs
that?
are very much
Would you do that?
Well, what you have to do is you can attack issues within that healthcare onion, again, that come from driving those costs down by doing small business health plans, by bringing more competition into the sector, by bringing some of the litigation costs out of that. There's a number of things you can do. Look, we spend about 150 to 250 billion every year on non-patient care in the medical community that we can drive out by doing activity, by doing a variety of things to bring those costs out and deliver those services directly to the patients.
That's good. You know your stuff. Thank you very much. Mike Bouchard, he's the Republican candidate for Senate in Michigan. Sorry about the turning the lights out on you. That wasn't me. There they go again. Up next, we'll talk with MSNBC's Tucker Carlson about the fight for control, and also talk about some of the concerns over electronic voting machines. There's lots to talk about that. You're watching Decision 2006, Battleground America, only on MSNBC.